Why did man listen to that demonic fallen being? Man listened to that demonic fallen being because man disobeyed the voice of God. Man disobeyed the voice of God. Okay? And so when you disobey the voice of God, invariably you are going to hear the voice of Satan. You are going to hear the voice of the fallen one. So that angelic being continued to speak to man up till this present time. And so, searching for a connection with God. Let's look. Can man actually search and get reconnected to God? Can man actually search? If God does not reveal himself to man, can man reconnect himself to God? That's the question that one of the men from the East, I love people from the East, the East. Remember, wise men come from there. I love every other person, but wise men always would come from the East. Wise men came from the East, wise men will always come from the East. Now look at one of the wise men from the East. The name was Job. One wise man from the East, from the country of North. He said something, a wise man, he said something very, very important here. And what did this man say? Job, a man from the East, the country of North. Now he said, Job 11, the scriptures. I'm reading the scriptures. Job 11, verse 7. Can thou by searching find out God? Can thou? Do you think that by searching you can find out God? Do you think that a fallen man under the influence of a satanic being, do you think that by searching you can find out God? That's the question of this man. Can thou find out the Almighty unto perfection? No, it's not possible. Let's continue. And he says, it is as high as heaven. What can thou do? Deeper than well. What can thou know? The measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. Say, can thou by searching search out God? So practically it is impossible for man to search out God. For man, by his human effort to reconnect to God, because man has been and is under the influence of the demonic fallen being, powerful demonic fallen being, the angel has spoken. And so man continued to listen to the fallen being, demonic fallen being. And so when man left the Garden of Eden, man searching to reconnect to God, what actually had been speaking to man and is still speaking to man is the voice of the fallen angel. The voice of the fallen angel. And now, when man left and tried to search to reconnect to God, man was able to establish rules, was able to establish systems, was able to establish religious systems, religious rules, religious values, religious structures, religious tenets in the bid to reconnect to God. But man did that under the influence of a fallen being. And so, because man did that under the influence of a fallen being, man ended up establishing the first religion on the surface of the earth. And that was the traditional religion. The traditional religion. And so, traditional religion was the first religion that man established on the surface of the earth. If you like, call it the ancient religion, however you call it. And so, you find out that man's desire to reconnect to God led to the establishment of religions. Religion is man's effort to reconnect to God. Man's effort. But like the wise man said, can thou by searching search out God? So, in the process of man trying to reconnect to God, trying to search out God, trying to search out ways and means of reconnecting to God, that same voice that spoke to man still spoke to man. And that led to the establishment of some rules and regulations that the man would call religious rules and regulations connecting to God. And that was the first religion that we had. Remember I said religion is established by man at the influence of the fallen being, at the influence of the one that spoke to man. Because man continued to listen. When man was driven out of the Garden of Eden, man continued to listen to the influence, one continued to listen to the fallen being. And so, any step made by man to try to reconnect to God actually leads man to hear the voice of the fallen being, because man was still under the influence of the fallen being. And so, the first religion was the ancient religion, that is the ancient religion of the ancient people. Remember, the ancient people were the people that came from Africa, and they established the ancient religion, or the traditional religion. So, traditional religion, that's the ancient religion. They was one of the first religions established on the surface of the earth. Okay, and so as man went on as a traditional religion or the ancient religion, so the ancient religion by the ancient people in Africa, they established the ancient religion, that is the traditional religion. Now, as man moved on, spreading on the surface of the earth, wherever they went, they would establish the same pattern of religion, that is the traditional religion. Okay, and so the traditional religion was the first religion, and man spread that all across. As man established cities, as man established communities, they continue to follow that pattern of religion, the traditional religion, okay, the religion of the ancient, all through, whether they moved, when they moved to Asia, now called Asia, because that time there were no continents, there were no Asia, Africa, and that. It was just man's, no inhabitants on the other parts of the world. And so as man expanded, as man increased, man moved from one community to the other, moving people. In those days, it could be like queen, the princes, the princesses, and military warlords, warriors could get to a particular area, could move from where they were staying to another area to establish another community or another kingdom. So as man moved on, they carried the same traditional religion with them. Through Asia, they were the traditional religion. Remember, the traditional religion was established at the instance of the influence of the fallen being that spoke to man. And so man continued with that particular religion. As they moved, remember that religion was the religion embedded in the voice of the fallen angel, that was influenced by the voice of the fallen angel. Invariably, it was like religion established for the fallen angel. So anyone that is telling you the ancient religion or traditional religion, they were all in values, systems, and structures established under the influence of the fallen angels by the fallen man. So now they moved from communities established. As they established new communities, they were able to adopt or adapt the same pattern, the same religion. Okay, now they moved to what is called now Asia, the same pattern. Like Europe, we are going to talk about the establishment of these nations in the next discourse, the establishment of this nation. But as they moved on, established communities, they carried the same religious pattern, which was embedded in the worship of spirits, because there were spirits that were appearing to them and were telling them what and what to do. In so any community, any area that they expanded to, they would meet the same voice that spoke to them in the Garden of Eden. The head would meet the same demon that spoke to man in the Garden of Eden continue to speak. So wherever they spread, they continue to hear the voice of that. So if they get to any particular community, before they could do anything there, that demonic being would appear, or that demonic being will speak to them, because they will use the same old system, the same old pattern, the same old values, the same old means of hearing the voice of the fallen one, of hearing the voice of the fallen angels. And whenever they make such, practices or whatever they could call down, whenever they make such practices, they would invoke those spirits, the fallen angels, and the fallen angel will speak to them, and that's how they will now clear the air, give them guidelines on what to do. So they keep on establishing this ancestral religion or traditional religion across. So